The story is called Love Story. William was the seventh son of a seventh son. He was a blacksmith's son, and what that means is that he had no hope of inheriting the blacksmith, but a promising future in magic. William, growing up in a small town far from London, needed to go for studies, but at the same time, as a teenage boy, he discovered girls. He discovered the baker's daughter, and Maria was the sweetest girl you could meet, with brown hair and brown eyes and a smile as bright as the sun. And his heart was devoted to Maria, but he knew he had to go and study, and London had the finest wizards in the world. As he was getting ready to leave, Maria said to him, marry me now." And he looked at her and he said, "It wouldn't be right. I have no dowry. I have nothing to give you. That would be shameful. I have to do this the right way. I will go to London, I will make my name, and I will come back with money. I will marry you proudly then." And she cried, and his heart was heavy when he left for London to study. And he studied under one of the finest wizards, and he studied for 8 long years. And the whole time he was there, learning all the things to say, the moves to do, all he could think of was that sweet girl who lived back at home, who was waiting for him even then. And the day came where he completed his apprenticeship in 8 years, and everyone in the magic world was amazed. 8 years, and he was finished. He was ready to be a journeyman wizard. They even said that he had the talent and skill, if he devoted himself, that he could one day be a sorcerer. This was all going through his head. He was very excited. His feet barely touched the ground as he made his way back home. To stop at the gates of the village, something was wrong. When he walked in, everyone was wearing black, and their faces were heavy, and people were crying. He saw one of his friends quickly, and he said, "Joe, what's going on? Why is everyone upset? Why is everyone wearing black? What's going on?" And Joe looked at him, and tears were pouring down his face. "Yesterday, Maria was watching a bunch of the kids in the town square, and one of the toddlers went wandering out into the road. And it's no big thing. I mean, there's hardly any traffic, but a carriage was coming down the way, and it was in the distance. It was still a ways off. But a bee or something got underneath the saddle, and the horse took off at a run. And Maria just made it in the road in time to push the toddler out of the way, and she was hit. She died last night." No, this is a joke, right? I'm marrying her. I came back, I have the money and everything, and I can do it right. "You're serious?" Joe was still crying. There was no laugh. There was no, "Ha, we fooled you." Everyone was really upset as he looked around. His world spun, and all he could think of was the 8 years he had just devoted to learning magic. Magic does not follow the rules. I'm going to save her. I came back to marry her. I'm going to save her. And he took off. Not even visiting his family, not visiting her family. Joe was the only one to see him, and within an hour, Joe forgot that William had even shown up at the edge of town. It was a tragedy. But William went back to London. He went to his teacher, and he banged on the door, and he shouted in the middle of the night, waking the old man up, and as Aristophanes stumbled down the stairs and opened the door, he saw the most horrific look on William's face. She's dead, and it's not right. You have to tell me the words. I need to know the words so that I can bring her back." "What?" And so he ushered William in and sat him down and calmed him down, and he got the words, he got the story from William. And the whole time, the old man's heart grew heavy and his face grew serious and grim. There is no human way to do this. There is no way on earth any man could bring her back. But William, studying with wizards for 8 years, knew that that meant there was a way that something could bring her back. Well, if man can't do it, who can? "No, lad, no. Let the woman go. Devote yourself to your magics. Become the sorcerer you should be. I told you before how many times that love gets in the way of wizardry. How many wizards do you know that are married? William was already lost. Not a single word the old man had to say went into his head. You could see the words hit his face and fall flat to the floor as William stood up and said, "Just tell me, who? Who?" "This is a mistake. I know it's a mistake to tell you. But amongst the fairies, there are queens, and the queens are powerful enough to step in and out of time as if it was a child's toy. But it'll cost you your life or more, and it really is a stupid choice and a dangerous one. You should not do it. Do not make the mistake. Really, let her go. She's gone." William heard none of this. He was already thinking, how do I get to Faerie? How do I get to the queens? I will get to them and I will get her back. She's my true love. And in his mind, there she was, with her brown hair, her brown eyes, and her loving smile. She was worth it, whatever the price he would pay. William found in the woods outside of town a mushroom circle, and in it he went. He spun 3 times widdershins, and there he was in the borderlands of Faerie. The sky was gray, the grass was gray, the features, they were grim. He wondered which way to go, towards the scent of flowers in summer or towards the chill wind behind him. And he thought, winter is death and summer is life. I want my true love back. I'm going to summer. Summer will obviously love and listen. That's what summer's like. And so off he went to find the summer queen, and he wandered Faerie. He wandered Faerie for many years, almost dying many times. Once, almost strangled by a tree, he fell asleep beneath. The tree was really not a tree. Before he heard the trumpets that were flowers, and he realized that in the distance the summer queen was on parade. And he went running up, and as the fairies trooped by, vibrant colors, wild eyes, his heart sang with joy. These were the fairies he sought. These were the fairies that could bring his true love back. And there she was in the middle of it all. He knew it was the queen. She had wings made of rainbow light. Her dress was made of the wings of butterflies, and they were alive and just sitting, swinging back and forth their wings. Colors, so beautiful. She had to be the one. He ran right up in the middle of the parade, and he got on his knees and said, "Please bring my Maria back. I would do anything if you would bring my Maria back to life." And she looked at him, and her eyes, he saw then, were a mass of wasps gathered together, pacing back and forth across her face. The fury there was clear. A mortal comes, interrupts my parade, and gives me a demand? She raised her hands up, and as she did, she fell to pieces there, and the wasps came flying down and chasing him. 1,000 stings, 1,000 shrieks, 1,000 cries for mercy, and she laughed on the wind behind him. Crawling and dying, he fell asleep beneath a tree, weeping and muttering in his delirium about Maria and love. By then the summer queen was gone, her court as well. When the dryad living in the tree, who had known love once when she was young, she took pity on him, she took mercy on him, and she came out, and with her tears she healed the wounds her queen had gave. She gave him life, although he would never remember it. And when he woke again, he found the stings were gone, and he thought perhaps it was a nightmare. Except around his feet, there were all the stingers there, and the bodies of some of the wasps. Having no idea how he healed, he realized he had no chance with summer. There was one queen left to try. He looked to the north. He looked to where the chill wind came from, and with a heavy heart, knowing there was probably no chance in any hell that this queen would grant him anything, he slowly marched as a man would to his own death. Oddly, on the way to Winter's court, there was no interruption, no games played by any denizens of winter. It was the crunch of ice and the cold wind, and that was it. It was easy. It took hours compared to the years he spent chasing Summer's court. to find the glacier palace of the Winter Queen. And there the doors were open, and the ugliest and darkest, most twisted creatures in all imagination were standing there waiting with leers on their face as he slowly looked at them and made his way in. They looked at him as if perhaps he was the butt of a joke. But still he went in, and he had given it thought on his walk what to do. Perhaps instead of going in and dropping on his knees, instead going in as a wizard and presenting himself properly. And so when he went in and his footsteps echoed on the obsidian floor and all these creatures leered and watched, he stood and waited until the being on the throne, which he had thought was a sculpture of ice, stood up and moved. And she looked at him and said, "Present yourself." "I am William, the wizard, and I have come to give you a gift." And with that he raised his hands, and up shot a burst of light that went up to where the ceiling was, and the ceiling was gone. It was the sky, the night sky with a full moon hanging big and bright, looking terribly green and dangerous. All the fairies danced and smiled to see this. It was beautiful magic. It was a feat. None of their magic could do such a thing. It was an illusion, but it was a good one. And the queen admired this. "So you would ask me for something. You've given me a gift. A gift for a gift is a fairy style. So what gift would you like?" "Oh, I'm but a humble mortal. I cannot ask you for anything, but I would let you know that if you could find it within your power to give my true love, Maria, back her life, I would do anything for you. I would give you anything and everything I have if you would give her back her life." And the queen smiled. They'd been watching. The whole time he paraded through summer, they'd been watching him. It was summer season, and winter's court was bored and restless. There's nothing like a mortal to watch in times that are tedious. I accept your gift, and I will give her her life back. But this is the trade. You will never see her again, and she will never know how her life is restored. You will serve as my consort, and the love you would have given her, you will give me. And it will hurt. You will never say her name. And every moment of humiliation and grief is mine to sup. And you will serve me until the end of your days. And never will you step in human lands unless it is by my side. His heart broke. All the fairies supped of that meal. His heart broke as he hung his head, and he said yes. It was his true love. There's always a chance. If she's alive, there's always a chance. And she's worth it. It's true love. He served her his whole life as her consort. He did exactly as he promised. And every day it hurt. And every day his heart grew heavier and heavier. But every day, there in the back of his mind was the picture, the brown hair, the brown eyes, that lovely smile. And an hour before his death, the queen, knowing his time was ending, she looked at him and said, "You have served me well, so one gift I give you freely. You need give me nothing in return. Go back to your village, and I will let you watch her now." And so William, hurriedly as he could, ran to the nearest thin spot, whipped through, went running back out of the woods and into town, and there he sat in the park in the middle of town on a bench, an old broken man with lines heavy in his face, as he watched the children play. And they looked very familiar. It looked like his brothers and sisters, but much younger. And one of the little ones called out for her grandmother, "Mama Maria, Mama Maria!" And there she came. Oh, the brown hair was long gone to gray. The smile was still there. And she was walking hand in hand with his older brother. The moment he took his last breath, he made a wish. He called for the queen one last time. I will serve you now, and I will serve you by choice. I will be your consort, as long as I can destroy every heart I choose to, as long as you let me sup as you do on the pain and misery and grief that man creates, and woman too. And he is the Jack of Frost, and he serves at the side of the Winter Queen. It is true love.